2023. Have a roll call.
Mr. Sean Collins.
Present.
Tangela Hardy.
Present.
Joan Shepard.
Present.
Renee Richardson.
Present.
Kathy Washington. Nathan McGullough.
Present.
Davita Bonner.
Present.
And Mr. Lynn Thompson.
Present.
We
We'll,
have full membership, sorry.
yes, thank you. We will have invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Illustrious Vice Chairman can lead us. Thank you.
Let us pray. Good and gracious God, we come before your presence at this moment, at this hour. God, we thank you that you are the giver and sustainer of life. We thank you for keeping us, and we thank you, God, for allowing us to be able to gather together in this place. We have come, dear God, from the north, from the south, from the west, and from the east. We have come, dear God, to take care of the business of the Midtown area. Thank you, God, for the leadership of our chair. We thank you for this board. God, we thank you for our commissioners. We thank you for our mayor. Thank you, God, for our city manager. God, we thank you for staff who sacrifice so much to be able to do the work for the city. Now, God, lead us and guide us. Give us wisdom in this moment. It's your name that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance.
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get into the agenda, I ask everyone to turn off, silence their phones, if you will, so we won't forget. Yes. And we, first of all, we have a revised agenda that is different from what was sent out, and there's 2 items that were added, one of which is number 5. I want to make that a part of all of our future agendas, because it's just something we need to do. With understanding, maybe a lot of people don't know that, what we send out in the mail is just a draft to start off with, no matter what. We need to make it official. That's just Robert's rules. That's how you do it. And so we want to make that a part of our permanent agendas. And so with that, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda as we have it tonight.
Mr. Chair, I move that we remove and accept the agenda for August 8, 2023.
Is there a second?
Second. That motion.
Any discussion, questions? And I'll just add, the only, other than item, I guess the item 5, there's a new item, and it's numbered incorrectly. It should be, right now it's 7A and B. It should be, the new item is 7B, which should be 8B, and that's visions of Daytona Beach. And that was brought to my attention prior to the meeting. The owner wanted to get on the agenda, and it's not different from what we normally do, simply because we tend to have 2 items for spotlight on Midtown. And for your information, where his club is located is literally an enclave for Midtown. It's the only parcel that's on the west side of Nova Road, and so he's within our Midtown area. So that's the change, other than the item to approve the agenda. So, any more discussion, questions? There being none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. I'll take a motion for approval of the minutes for discussion.
I motion to approve the minutes. I motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second? Okay. Any discussions, corrections? Yes, ma'am.
Discussion and corrections. Davita Bonner, I was here last month, and it's not listed in the present on July the 11th.
Okay, so noted. We'll make that
Thank you.
correction. Any other unreadiness, any questions, additions, omissions we need to put on there? There being none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Staff reports. We have a gentleman that we hadn't seen in a minute. We appreciated him showing up, his presence here tonight. Our city manager, Mr. Derek Fiacher. He's going. You're next on the agenda, is that, sir? But yeah.
So just wanted to thank you, Chair, for this opportunity, members of the board, city staff, for this opportunity. I have asked the redevelopment teams if I could come and share with the different boards that are under their leadership, just to provide some highlights and updates of some of the things that we're doing here in the city to make this the desired destination for people to not only live here, but to visit as well. We are in the budget process. I want to just share some of the things that we're doing, but the redevelopment staff has been working. The Transform 386 is a program by the county and the federal government where they've given to the county approximately $328.9 million of funds. The redevelopment team has been working trying to figure out how we can tap into some of that money. So the number is $328.9 million that the federal government has given to the county. We are going to be diligently trying to get about $100 million. We are not going to hold back. We are going to be direct with our requests. About $51 million of that will be dedicated to the Midtown community, is what that we're going after. So we're going to need your support when we go to the county, when we start calling our county commissioners. Tomorrow night, we'll be having our budget workshop, and I know that the mayor is going to be talking about that because he's got us up to the number of asking for approximately $100 million. You may not get it, but I'm telling you, we're going to shoot for the stars, and we're going to hang on to the moon and everything else we possibly can, because Ken and his team, they have worked together to come up with about $51 million that can go directly into the Midtown, and even to the point of some of those funds can be used to purchase homes that we know are going to stay in the flood zone and help those people to be able to move into other zones or other areas of Midtown that has a higher level. So I want to let you know that the staff members that are assigned to this board have given me a list of, and I have the list. And I know the county manager probably is tired of hearing from me, but we're good friends. But we are going to go after as much money as we possibly can to not only help individuals who have flooded in their current homes, not only individual single-family homes, but for businesses as well. And that money not only includes residential and business, but also building new affordable multi-units in certain areas of our community of Midtown. We're going to work with the Housing Authority, try to figure out some of those areas that continue to flood. How do we move those and move those up? So we have a great working relationship. And before I got into the gist of some of my keynotes, I did want to let you all know that sometimes I know we get on opposite ends of the spectrum, but the redevelopment team has been working. And I just said, give me a list. If I were to go after some money, what you would be. And I was thinking they were going to give me a list about 10, 15 million. This is $51,225.00. So they have done that. So I'm gonna thank Ken and thank Michelle, who is the liaison for this area. But we're looking at the acquisitions of commercial buildings, developing multifamily housing, acquisition of single-family homes in the flood zone, rehabilitation of housing units impacted by flooding, rehabilitation of commercial buildings, because people may live in Midtown and they may have a business, but if they can't work because their business is a problem, how can they pay for their bills? So we're looking at that as well. Not only that, rental and utility assistance for people who may be, I call them underemployed. They have a job, but the job can't pay the bill. And so in our business incubator to support the area in flooding, they've been working with some consultants trying to figure out how we can get the right people in here to help us continue accelerating some of our programming for our businesses who want to do work. And we're going to be tapping into some of the colleges and universities. We have really not focused much on giving them internships, but these schools that have business programs, this is a perfect opportunity for us to use some of those funds to help them to provide resources to people who are single person businesses that may have a law firm or a CPA firm or trying to open up a coaching business or something. How can we use these business students, pay them a fee to help them do their books, help them do their taxes, help them put a business plan together? So we're going to be tapping into all of the colleges and universities here to do that, because we hired an educational coordinator that she's been doing a very good job. She actually worked with Dr. McFadden and Ms. Bonner. We have a junior debate program that's at the Cherry Center that it is very good. the CD students being able to communicate and disagree with without fighting. So that's been pretty good. So that educational coordinator will be working to do stuff like that. And also with Mr. Thompson, I see him on the board, but we're going to be doing some more things. And from the theatrical standpoint in our Midtown community, and you all have supported that effort as well. But some of the key things that I think people need to be aware of is kind of people are not sure of. The property taxes that we see, and I see representatives from our police department. When you think about how much our police department costs, their budget for this year is $48 million. $48 million. The property taxes that we collect in Daytona Beach is $39 million. So what we collect to operate is lower than what it costs to pay for one of the most important public safety units in our community. And so when we are working to put our budgets together and create these things and go after these grants, it is essential, because if we only had to depend on the property taxes, we could not even afford to pay for the essential service that we all need in the community and that we face. And each year, as we continue to grow as a city, our force is going to have to grow as a city. And our mass is growing, going out to the west side. So all of those have to come into play when we're trying to budget our resources, when the resources that we think we're getting can't even cover what we want. But we can't only just put in the resources for the numbers to get people, because it's tough now to get people to sign up to be a police officer through the recruitment process. So we just can't look at that. We've got to make sure we have all of the tools for them to do their jobs. And not only police, but the police don't need to ride on roads that are cracked. And so if you invest all in one space and don't invest in the other space, you're losing out. So we can put more people on the street, but if the buildings are still dilapidated, if the roads are still dilapidated, we still have a problem. So those are the things that we're trying to bring all together to make sure we can create synergy for everything. And I think they've been doing that to make that happen. So we've got a budget for the city about $330 million. We're going to be investing more money into our road infrastructure. You all have been seeing the infrastructure and the roads that we've been improving. And we're going to be tapping in, trying to be more amenable to helping businesses be successful. There's two folds here. I need your support just like you need my support. I've been here for 2 years, over a little bit 2 years. Yes, I've been here. Yeah, I had black hair on my beard when I came. Welcome to the. Yeah, I mean, it's just Sean Collins was on me the first month, but I think we good now. We've been better. But what I need is that I continue to still hear from individuals in Midtown who think that we're out to get them. I still hear it. I still hear it. The question is, I can't get what the concern is. I hear it all the time. They say it all the time. But they only say it's somebody. But what is the real issue? I need them to be very clear what it is, but also not ask for anything special, but for us to follow what the rules say. And if the rules don't work, staff doesn't change the rules. Staff makes recommendations that are put in place with the elected officials, and the elected officials have to change our land development codes or not. And people can say that the rules are different on one side or another side. If you can tell me exactly what the rule is, and I can see that it's back, we will change it and make the recommendation. But you can't just say that it's not fair on one side or not. Because I heard it. I've heard it for 2 years. And so I need a clear direction. And with this board, I need it. But I also need for people to take advantage of what we have. I've said before, I've talked to residents, business owners that have told me they don't want to do anything with the city. So if the money is available in the Midtown budget for the Midtown community, you have to be willing to do trust. And I know it's tough because I know in the past there have been issues and concerns where people say they have not been treated right. But you are the board that has to help bridge the gap. But you have to also bridge the gap knowing what our rules say from our LDCs, what our policies, and you may not agree with them, but if you can't get a majority of the elected officials to say that this is the right way, we have to abide by what we have put in place from land development codes and regulations. And I just had a meeting, I know Ken was in the meeting earlier today, where I said to some people, I said, there are some things that I don't agree with, but I am responsible for executing the policy of the majority of the elected body, whether I agree with it or not. And once a decision is made, we can debate it at Bahama Breeze, Red Lobster, whatever. But I'm going to execute what a majority of the board says. And sometimes we get in the weeds of saying, one person is holding up something or 10. And yes, we do have people that don't want to build bridges, they want to build barriers. And I have to work my way through that every single day. I mean, I have that. My wife tells me I have a barrier when she's trying to build a bridge when I think it's really a barrier she's trying to build. But we have to work that out. So I need you all to, I think it would be good for us to have a roundtable discussion at times where it's not a board meeting like this, but we can sit, because I do think some individuals have the ability to move things forward, but because it goes too slow, they think everyone's holding up. Government is a yacht going through a canal, period. It is a yacht going through a canal. The only way you can turn that yacht around, you got to go all the way through, turn it around, and come through. Because this canal is run by over 78,000 residents. Not 5, not 7, not 3, not me. So we have to be accountable for that. We are going to invest more in our housing, rehabilitation. They're working now for affordable units, but we don't just, I'm just being honest, I don't just need affordable units in Midtown, because the tax value does not go up. Everybody keeps saying that. But if you only have affordable units, you're going to always stay there. That taxable value is not going up. So if you see, and I'm just using for an example, if Washington Enterprises says she wants to build a high rise that fits and she wants market rate or workforce rate for college students, we don't need to just throw that out of the window if Washington Enterprise says they have the resources to go and invest. We need to see if we can invest, because we don't want to have stagnation from a taxable value standpoint in one community, and the other community is rising because they have market rate and they're moving up. So we need to intertwine those and make sure we have affordable and market rate together, and they all rise together. And that's the key, what I've seen in other communities, because I do want people to be able to afford accommodations, but you have to be able to rise together and be able to see that. Because if someone sees, if you got a nice computer lab and kids can go in there and play, or you go into an area that doesn't have a computer lab, who do you think is going to rise the fastest? If they've got those type of programs within that. So that's what we need to do, and understand there are rules that we cannot change without it going through the process. And there are many good things that I know want to happen in Midtown. When I lived here, before I came back, I lived on Walker Street. I went to the old Blue Wreck to Pal. So it's not like I don't know the area. I lived there in the 90s. I know the area. And some of that area looks the same way when I left. And we have to be willing to invest, but there also has to be a willingness from the community and the property owners. The money is there, but we can't move forward if the property owners are not willing to chop in. And y'all know many of them. Y'all know them, and I don't have to call names. You know some that are still afraid. I don't know what I can do. I can't change who I am. I can't turn around 3 times and I'm a different person. I promise you, if you give us the ability to have a conversation with you and offer you something, we're going to do our best to get it. And I may have to move some people, push some people, but we're going to do it, because we do still have, I'm not going to joke about it, we do still have people that enjoy barriers. And I have to find a way to get those barriers moved. But I also need the people who want us to move the barriers to come to the table correct. I said this from the very beginning, and I've been doing this since 2001. I'm not going to do anything illegal, immoral, or unethical. I don't play cards under the table. I put them all on the table. An ace is an ace. A king is a king. We're not switching no games. I don't look good in orange or brown. I just don't. It doesn't fit me well. But if we can do it and do it right, we will do it. But some people are going to get uncomfortable, and some people want to move fast. I know, because people invest in certain things, and they're losing money because of the time frame of some of the stuff that we have to deal with. So I understand that. I don't want anyone to lose money, but I just wanted to tell you all, like I'm telling everybody, what they submitted to me is a great recommendation for investing money into the community. We're going to put a plan together, and I'm going to have them bring this back to you all so you can see what we're requesting from the county. And when we ask for this board, and we'll have to get it approval, so if y'all could put something on the agenda to allow for the chair of this board at the end of the meeting to sign on to a letter of requests that we're going to send to the county for funds, that would be appreciative if they can do that, to allow the chair to sign on to a letter asking for 51,225 of funding to come back to the city of Daytona Beach. And so that's what we will need. And I'm going to be asking other boards to do the same. So I'll stand for any questions. And if you have any questions, I'll answer as many as I can answer until y'all tell me that I have to leave.
You're being funny, right?
I'm just saying, if you have them,
You know there's going to be questions.
yeah, go ahead.
But I want everybody to be aware of your possible redundancy. So if someone else is asking the same or similar question, try not to repeat it, if you will. And I know we're not going to have that problem with our board. I brag about our board all the time, every day that ends in Y. So I'll start with Miss Tangi, Miss Hardy over here, and you're on board.
I guess my question will be directed to both of you guys. I know we're right now in the process of forming and solidifying our needs plan for Midtown. Will any of these allotted dollars that Midtown possibly gets from the Transfer 386 program be allowed for our needs plan?
That's part of, and that's something we'll probably be discussing tonight with staff on when how long of time it will take for them to reduce the writing, what the city managers ask them to put in writing as far as letter of support and whatever. And I do envision some of the projects that we have in our needs plan finding their way to expend some of those 51.285. What is it?
Yeah. And as long as they fit.
1.225.
But
I'm sorry.
yeah,
correct them as well.
Mr. Chair, once you all look at it, there is some key elements that we have to do. So they've looked at it. They had a meeting with the Transform 386. So Ken and Michelle will be able to tell you exactly what funds and if they match up with it, because this is not finalized. They gave, I'll just say for this $7.2 million for acquisition of single-family homes in flood zone areas. It may be $5 million, and you all can move it around. So once that happens, we really want to do something in the next month or so. You'll be able to change it out, what's needed based on the Midtown board.
Right. And also to that same point, I'm pretty sure, and I brag about the staff as well, Mr. Fiacha, because I was here prior to that group, the group we got there now, and I'll tell you, it's like night and day. And so I say that in advance of saying that I'm sure that both Michelle and Ken have already, because we've been talking about a needs plan for a minute. So I'm sure that they've kind of mixed in initially anyway, as far as some of the, I guess, the major categories that he has in that needs plan. And so it's kind of a yes with caveats to that. But so anyway, any more?
That's it.
Our Vice Chairman, Mr. Ball.
Well, I really don't have a question, but I want to commend you and your staff for the wonderful work that you have done. I think I did mention before when Ken, Thomas, and Michelle came on board, one of our concerns was that, a lot of our streets in the Midtown area, the roads were real bad. but they have done a remarkable job to make sure that those are resurfaced, and then some of the sidewalks, they are looking real good. I think my only concern is I think we need to make sure that we do something about the flooding, not just during the hurricane season, but we have, flooding sometimes when just a little rain comes down. So we need to do something about, about that.
Ms. Washington?
I'm going to start with, I've known our city manager since he was about 2 years old.
Oh, Lord.
And I am really proud of how he has matured since day one. But I knew he had a lot to offer, because if I ever stopped to have a conversation with him, that conversation was never a 15-minute conversation. It was at least 30, 45, an hour, because he had thoughts forward for 10 years, and he wanted to get it out. And I'm just so impressed to see you putting them all in action. I really appreciate the information you've given to us tonight, and you can put me down for anything that is going on in Zone 6. I'll do my part. I am a worker, as long as you give me directions. And I know people get tired of me coming, but I want to see the project to fruition.
Appreciate it.
Ms. Shepherd?
I'd like to second, excuse me, what Ms. Washington said. If there's anything you need from me, put my name to it. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. My only question I have is in regards to the flooding that we're going to try and take care of. Is there a way that we can incorporate underground wiring, like the electric lines and all that at the same time?
Yeah, this area for the 51 million was really focusing on the redevelopment, but the utilities department and infrastructure are asking for another 50 to 70 million dollars.
Okay.
So we're putting on. That's where the mayor was saying, let's get $100 million, because they've looked at the underground and utilities. How do we get stormwater out? How do we work with the housing authority areas? They have a couple of properties that could be retention areas to store and get moving fast. Because all of the Midtown area is a flood zone, pretty much, and it's just historical. That is where the African American community had to go, and it was the lowest level in that area. And so, yes, we do have an additional, I think, about $60-some million at utility.
Thank you.
Mr. Thompson?
Yeah, thank you so much. I think it's pretty safe to understand and to know that historically, Midtown has been for generations ignored and underrepresented, and we are now in the midst of, I guess, a revival of sorts. And I want to commend your staff and the work that you've done, Mr. City Manager. And I think we just need to focus on a checklist of what has been accomplished, because the average citizen does not know
That's true.
what has been done in reference to what Ken Thomas, Michelle, and you have done, in regards to maybe what your predecessor has done for Midtown. And I'm being selfish when I say that. And secondarily, if we could focus on addressing and allaying the concerns that the average Midtown resident might have. Two of them, and those concerns are probably focused on two things: fear and misinformation. They're concerned, they're afraid because of mistrust, and they believe the wrong information. And so I think that if we could focus on those things and being direct, just like you came here and you said, I just want to talk to them and tell them straight up. They got to trust somebody. So why not us? And you just challenged us to reach out to our constituents. And so if we can do that jointly, I think we can move the needle even further. So I commend you, and I commend the staff and what you're doing, because in the couple of years that you guys have been in charge and doing this stuff, I've seen significant changes. And I want to commend you on that.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Richardson.
So I really want to say thank you for coming and providing what the upcoming vision and view is going to be for our area. Since being on this board, I don't know what the previous people did or the previous leadership before you did. I just know that in coming in here, it was stagnant. Sometimes I still feel that way, but I have to figure out, I know how the process goes. Government is slow. It is very slow. It is very frustrating sometimes. And I just want to make sure that the community knows how to tap into some things. I don't think they know how to tap into certain things, and it's very frustrating for them. And they get sometimes different things. We may say one thing, and then when we get there, it's something different. And I just want to make sure that we have a clear speech that we're giving to people. We want to give them the actual process of how it's supposed to be done. It would be great to have somebody that was, I guess it was supposed to be hired to be able to help a person if they wanted to launch a business step by step, to help them go through the process of that. I think it was supposed to be a person that was supposed to be able to do that, but I haven't gathered anybody that knows how to kind of do that for people. I think we have a lot of entrepreneurs. We have a lot of young people. We have a lot of people that are hungry and want to see the change, not just in certain areas. We want to see the change all over because we really need that and stuff. We are, I've lived here all my life and I want to see the change. I want to be able to take my grandson to see all of the things that's changing in our area. So I appreciate and get that money. We need that money so we can definitely do all of the changes that we need to do in our area, because we have been passed over a lot of times. But we want, and we thank for the leadership that we have right now to fight for us. We that in this community and in this area so that we will be able to thrive and grow as all of the other areas are doing around us. So thank you for everything.
And I know, because we've dealt with some things of trying to solve some problems.
Yes. Yes.
So you don't definitely understand that cycle.
Yes.
Ms. Bonner.
First and foremost, thank you for the transformation that's taking place. I know that one of the questions I had was already addressed in the 386 program. But there is that need for those with the flooding issues, and not only that, educational support, other resources that are widely noted, and I know we've talked about some of that before. But I do appreciate your coming here this evening and sharing information with us, and the staff, all of their support as well with many of the issues that we've addressed this evening. And of course, your leadership, and I, like Ms. Washington, I remember when you came as a freshman, I knew he was an exceptional leader then. And I always knew that he was going to be something very special. So you've proven yourself over and over. So I appreciate what you're doing, and what you've put here together in 2 years is remarkable, and as well as the staff. So again, thank you.
And y'all know that makes y'all older, because I've been out of school.
Well, no, we say we grew up with you all. That's what I tell the students. I grew up with you, and some of them I didn't. So.
Been a long time.
I'm going to try to be brief and succinct as possible, because you bit off a lot in your presentation, and you've done a wonderful job as you usually do. You hit all the right points. You know how to do it. Just start off with the money. Everything else after that, you're not even listening to this. But I get that. That just shows you your skill set, and I appreciate that. On that note, I'm going to challenge all of our board members to find out, with the help of the staff, find out who your elected official is on the county council. I'll tell you a quick story. Years ago, and particularly your chairman of the county council. In my previous life, we had an item dealing with Votran. We're trying to get approved. We're trying to widen Votran from just an east side transit to the entire county. And the people in Pierce in the northwest, they didn't want to have anything to do with it. Because the old saying, if you have transit, then you're going to have what? Unwanted citizens.
Yeah.
And the elected officials, we're talking about, Pat Patterson was there, I think, Grover Ashcraft. None of y'all probably know who that was. He was old dude. We had Phil Joyner, Pat Northey. And they said, we want to vote for it, Sean, but you need to make us do it. And the way you make them do it is that you almost force them to say, I got no choice. I really don't want it, but my citizens want it. So that's what I'm saying, we got to make them do it. A lot of them probably want to give us the money, we got to make them do it. Call them. I mean, get your friends to call them. Get the students to call them. Because that's what make these folks give us the money. It's just as simple as that. On that point there. You talked about a lot of Midtown residents and businesses feel as though the city has it out for them. Perception is 9/10 of reality. And that perception comes from the previous administration. That's just real. I've never bit my tongue about the pre-Michelle's and the pre-Kens. It was horrible. And if you don't know me by now, I don't bite my tongue. We had the most incompetent people in those positions I've ever seen. And I'm in the same line of business, so I know what I'm talking about. The other part is that we had a person in your predecessor had no interest in Midtown. They were an afterthought. And so what I'm saying is that a lot of the feelings that the residents have of Midtown is valid. So you have to build up a trust. We're talking about how many years this city's been incorporated? It's been that long, so it's gonna take a while. We gotta take those complaints. But, the one, Mr. Thompson, his biggest needs plan is what? Communication. That's his baby. I joke with him, told him, because I asked everybody to write a little short thesis, well, not a thesis, but a short blurb on what that meant. He brings in a PhD dissertation. Very well written. We kind of took that as a template, and all of us are doing the same thing. But he's the one hit the nail on the head about getting the word out about what we're doing. And on that same point, we added an item to our agenda a few years ago. It's called Spotlight on Midtown. And the reason we did that was very simply, we wanted folk to know that we're not just a complaining community. We're doing some good things in this community. And so we were trying to let folk know that, we're not just griping all the time. We're doing some stuff. And so we regularly, at our meeting, we have people come in, businesses, individuals come in and talk about the good things that are going on in their business. And so that was a conscious effort. But it's just a little, step in the right process, and we're doing it. And every chance we get, we go out and talk about it. But on that same point, I challenge the board members to, if you're going to complain, follow it up with a solution. Because I'll shut you down quickly. That's just, I don't want to hear about your complaints. We already know what the problems is. What's your solution? Y'all know I say that all the time. Bring your solution to the table. And then don't just give it to staff to do it. I say we should be involved in making it happen. Because this is going to be a do something board. We've always been that way. Am I lying? We always do it that way. We work, we make things happen. And so I say that real quickly. I'm a short timer. My last meeting is November. Yes, and that's not going to change. That's written in ink, not in pencil. But I'm hoping with what you just said tonight, we're going to look real good. And I appreciate that. And I'm going to do everything I can to make that a reality. We got some folk in the community that can make a phone call to elected officials, and they'll pick up, if not on the first ring, they'll pick up on the second one. And we're going to call those people to help us out, because we're going to make them support us with that 51, what is the change? What is it, 51 what?
51 to 25.
Yes. And finally, I love your vision. Without a vision, people what?
People
Perish.
And we've got that. And I love that. And I've told you privately that I'm on board. And you're right. Folks sometimes don't understand that you just can't, say you want something and not have to cross your T and dot your I. And that's the biggest problem we have in our community. Some of it is legitimately that way, and then some of it's because people are just flat out lazy. I don't bite the bullet. So we got to understand the difference. You tell someone you do 1, 2, and 3, and then they come back and say, I did it, and then you find out they only did 1 and 2. Guess what? It's your problem. It's not my problem. And so that's the point we need to keep making, because you're right. The land development codes and the Florida statutes are written down. Unless you can't read and follow directions, because it's literally that easy. But a lot of people are literally computer lacking, and that's our issue. they're afraid. They don't. You mentioned Microsoft Word or PowerPoint, and they think that's hieroglyphics. That's a different language, you know. And that's the issue we're dealing with. And so it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
But we just got to keep taking those steps. And like you said, we're a yacht going through a canal. And our issue, because we understand how it's done, our issue to make that connection and be that one that deciphers that hieroglyphics into regular English. That's what we do. And so I appreciate you. I was a little longer than I thought, but I appreciate it, sir. And hope this is not the last time we see you.
Definitely not. I hope that we will be coming back saying we need you all to go with us to the county commission meeting. I mean, the mayor has made it abundantly clear that, because he said we were a little bit too low on the request for funds. So it don't bother me as long as you have the support at the top, it makes it good for us. But we're going to keep trying. Thank you all. I do understand what we're dealing with, so we're going to work it out. And Captain Cundy is somewhere behind me. I see he's up there. And I don't know if he has an on-patrol call tonight, but I need to get out of his way so he can do what he has to do.
One thing before you go, though.
Oh, yeah. He got backup, too.
One thing before we go. We have a lot of big-time businesses and individuals that we put the development agreements together, and they owe us. I know you can't say anything, but I'm being serious. I'm talking about one particular one that moved from Orange Avenue to Beach Street. He can make a phone call to the county council and it's done. So if you ain't gonna call him, I'm gonna have somebody call him. He owe us. Yeah, I don't want to make you to say nothing. I'm just being serious.
Anybody, I can tell you, when the mayor drafts his letter from this elected body, he is going to call everybody that he can, because the major issues of concern for our area of flooding took place in the heart of Daytona Beach. And that's not only in the heart of Daytona Beach. I mean, we were flooded here at City Hall. I mean, if you've seen the picture of the fire department, Station 1.
Right down in the corner there.
They had to evacuate from the fire station to City Hall lobby during the storm, and our power was out. So they were sleeping in the lobby. And then we had police boats and officers coming to pick people up out of Caroline Village, but the people had to walk all the way to Nova. And, so it is, to see that where, I mean, the police officers, they just tuck off their, belts and they're walking in water. So it is, so the heart of the tourist destination for Volusia County needs to have that investment come back into our community, because Midtown sits between the Speedway and the beach. You got to come through it to get to our tourist destination. And so we have to do all we can, from public safety to infrastructure improvements, to make sure the corridor is safe. You think about on International Speedway, there are 44,000 students. There are 5 colleges that sit right on International Speedway and one that sits off Kaiser University. So we've got a medical school, an engineering school, aeronautical school, the #2 nursing program at Bethune-Cookman in the country. By USA Today, got a major corporate type university in Kaiser College. We got graduate programs offered at UCF. We've got Brown and Brown off of Mary McLeod Bethune Boulevard. We got NASCAR, Daytona International Speedway, Halifax Hospital. So all of the good jobs, paying jobs, are in the 32114 zip code. But that money goes out. How do we fix it to invest back in? Because the core of our community is off of International Speedway, and the 32114 zip code encompasses those major entities in our community. And so how do we keep those 44,000 students being able to be in our community, go to quality entertainment, quality activities, and stay and don't leave? If all we are building in certain areas are affordable housing, if they're working at a place that pays them $80,000 to $120,000, they want Wi-Fi and wine shop and coffee shop and to be able to walk to a restaurant. So we've got to create that synergy, and I think that they're doing some of that with the redevelopment and acquisitions they're making. and working with our Captain Condi's going to come up here, and Sarah, who I took her time. I still owe Sarah from a whole year ago a lunch. I have not forgotten. They just working me too hard. But all of us working together will be the only way we can improve our community, to make sure those individuals who are graduating stay in our area. Because if you can get a MD or a PhD and never leave Daytona Beach, that money stays in our area, because you can go from pre-K to a PhD or MD right here in Daytona Beach and never leave. So I thank you all. I'm going to exit the room. So have a nice day, and Captain Conde.
Thank you, sir. Captain Conte, you are up.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Just as a reminder, we're still in that transition period as far as hard statistics with percentages. So this is a ballpark figure from the calls for service and criminal reporting stats from July 9th until August 2nd, 2023, which is when our CR reports are completed in those 2-week timeframes. Approximately 2,815 calls for service were handled between those dates. 566 police reports completed during that time frame, 74 felony arrests, 66 misdemeanor arrests, 360 traffic stops, 260 citations, 67 motor vehicle crashes, and during that 4-week time frame, we had a total of 25 total violent crime cases reported and 29 total property crime cases reported. What I can tell you is, despite the lack of percentages as far as increase and decrease, I can tell you that we do have a decrease in crime. Typically, when I would receive the 2-week reports encompassing CompStat, I would look at typically anywhere from 18 to 24 pages, and I can tell you that that number has reduced drastically to about 13 to 14. So I can tell you, quite frankly, I do know that the Part 1 crimes have dropped, fortunately. So, God willing, I'll be able to give you some hard stats the next time around, but if not, I will give you a heads up before that happens.
Any questions? I'll start with Ms. Bonner.
None at this time.
Ms. Richardson.
None from me. Thank you for your service.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Shepherd.
Thank you. Once again, I wanted to mention one thing that I've noticed. International Speedway Boulevard is just that lately. It's a speedway. I saw someone doing over 90 miles an hour down there yesterday when I come home from work. It was insane, and there were kids out there on the road. Is there any way that we can address that?
So
International Speedway. It was, I'm sorry, from Nova East.
So what I've typically been doing for the past 6 months is, in the beginning, I was selecting specific targeted areas for traffic enforcement, and we would call that our traffic initiative. The first time around that we implemented this program, I actually did select Nova from International Speedway from Nova to the railroad tracks. The following month, I selected Nova Road from Speedway to Bevel Road. Then following that, we've made some other selections, 3rd Street between Jimmy Ann and Derbyshire. We also selected Western International Speedway from Clyde Morris West to I-95. And presently, we are working in 41 zone, which is Washington Street from Mason Avenue to MMB. So depending on the trends and depending on the number of calls for service, the number of accidents, we will typically sit down and address it and discuss what is our best alternative, because our objective is obviously, one, to make it a safe roadway and to address any traffic complaints and reduce the likelihood of injury. Second, the increased presence of police in those areas will reduce any other crimes in addition to the traffic safety issues.
The only other point I had to make is I live on Fulton Street. Excuse me, I've had dental surgery. And I've recently had someone throw a brick at my window trying to gain entrance into my house. And the officer that responded said that it was probably the vagrants, one of the vagrants at the corner of Mary McLeod and Fulton, drug-related, because there's some drug action right next door to my house.
Do you have a case number where I can follow up on
I
that?
don't have it with me, but I can certainly get it.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask you your personal address.
Oh, I don't
open
care.
forum,
It's 328
but-
Fulton.
And what was the time frame? When did it happen?
It was between 10 and 12 p.m.
I mean, date.
I'm sorry, the date?
The date.
Oh, goodness me. Maybe a week and a half ago?
Okay. Unfortunately, we continue to have those challenges, not just in the Midtown area, just citywide in general. While we do have some programs that are in place, the First Step Shelter, which is a phenomenal alternative for those that do want to get a step up, I can tell you, unfortunately, from experience, that there is a large number of those who would benefit from this program, yet refuse to do so because they choose to live the life that they lead, because they're required to follow certain rules. Obviously, we continue to address as many problems as we can. We have the crime.
Yeah.
We have the quality of life complaints like transients and obviously open-air narcotic sales in addition to everything else. But I will follow up on it.
Yeah, and it's not the first time that I've had crime. And the officer responded that it was more than likely drug-related from the vagrants on the corner of Mary McLeod and Fulton. And they're there constantly.
I will do my best to address that, and I will pull up your report. That way I can at least follow up and see where we are.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
you're welcome.
Ms. Washington?
I just would like to say thank you for your service.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
No issues, thank God. But I really appreciate what you're doing in the city.
Thank you, ma'am.
Vice Chairman O'Donnell?
Well, I'll concur with everybody. You've done a marvelous job. You, together with the entire police department, our police chief, we appreciate everything that you do to make us safe.
Thank you, sir. It is appreciated.
Ms. Harder?
I just have a comment. Just it was refreshing to hear that there was no increase in any major crimes in the area, especially since, my concern was the new legislation that just passed by the governor. So to hear that, nobody's reacting to that or doing anything crazy, that was refreshing. So thank you for you in the department doing what you got to do.
Thank you, ma'am.
I concur. Great job. And looking forward to more statistics and stuff.
Absolutely, sir.
Especially the GIS stuff,
Go on.
Good job. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Kirk, Code Enforcement.
Good evening. Sarah Kirk, Code Inspector for the city. For the month of July, we opened 12 cases in the Midtown area. There was a variety of rental inspection cases, vacant lots, code enforcement, and looks like a blighted property case on Park Drive. For an update on 941 Lockhart, the vacant lot inspector did send it for hearing. I don't expect anything to come out of it like the other cases because we know the background. However, I did find a little bit of new information. Somebody did pay, I'm not a specialist on this, but it looks like somebody has put money down in a corporation, so maybe it'll go to a tax deed sale, I believe. And it's quite a bit amount of money. So,
Oh, good.
so maybe the property's, eventually going to get purchased soon, so something will be done with it. As far as cutting the grass, my advice would be to contact the manager and see if maybe there's a way to get that done. Manager of code enforcement, or code compliance, excuse me.
Okay.
Okay.
What's the name on it and phone number? For the manager?
386-671-5485. And that's Denzel Sykes. Okay. Sykes. Mm-hmm.
You'll get it done, trust me. Yeah, just let them know. Anything else?
That's all I got. Any questions?
Questions, comments? Ms. Syke?
I have a question.
Okay,
I have a question.
sure.
So
So the property, 935, South Martin Luther King. I called code enforcement on the property. Nobody's living there since the incident happened, initial incident, so nobody's lived there or they're not there. But the backyard, the front yard is not bad, but the backyard is as high as my chest. It's next door to me, it is hot, and I'm afraid that snakes are in that backyard. It is high. I did call code enforcement. I know one of the gentlemen that works at code enforcement. I know that he said that he's not allowed to go on the property because it is like not the city's property, so they can't really kind of go on, but I did give him permission. You can come to my house, go around the back, look at the yard. I just need somebody to look at it. I just need somebody to cut it.
I mean, I'd be more than happy to do it. My area cuts off at Bellevue, so
Okay.
it's Bellevue north to International.
Okay.
So I did go because the inspector that has that area, he was not there on Friday.
Okay.
That the would-be tenant was there.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and went and met the tenant there, and I took the pictures on the interior of the house, and then he has the case. So, but if he's unable to, I know he's out this week, if he's unable to do it, I'd be more than happy to. Or can you see the grass from the street at all, or the
Yeah.
sidewalk? You can see it?
You can see it.
Okay, I'll double check and look in his case to make, just a follow-up to see if he's added that to the case.
Yeah, because
And
it's
if not, we'll
it's
make sure to
actually
get
in the
that.
backyard. The front yard is not bad, but it's the backyard that's extremely high and it's extremely thick. And I'm very concerned with that because it's very hot. And I
have a better idea. I just remembered. I recently closed a case in compliance with property on Cedar by the same owners.
okay.
And I've got the email, and I've had email correspondence. I went on about 7 different re-inspections, sent it to hearing before he came into compliance, but eventually. So I can just I'll send him an email and see if I can get an update and see if he can get on the grass for me.
Okay.
And for you, for everybody. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Next up, Ms. Tolliver, redevelopment projects.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, board members. I'm Michelle Tolliver, the Redevelopment Project Manager for Midtown. I just want to remind the board members, as well as all listening, of the Chance for Redemption, the play that's happening August 26th through the 27th. And I know you have flyers, but I'm going to give you more, and I'll leave some for the people who are attending.
Thank you, ma'am.
And any extras, I'm sure Mandy will grab those, but take as many as you need to. And do plan to attend. The next flyer I'm going to hand out is an item that came before the board several months ago. Back in March, we thought we were going to have a food truck rally then, but we rescheduled it for August 25th. And August 25th does coincide with the Chance for Redemption. But this is a 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. event. And as we talked about before, the location for it is Lincoln Street, the north end of Lincoln Street, between George Ingram and State Street. So this is an additional flyer and information for you. And again, it's one night. Chance for Redemption is 3 nights.
Hint, hint. Thank you, Ms. Tolliver.
And the last item is Mr. Thompson mentioned last meeting about how Midtown would be affected by the redistricting that was recently done for the commissioners. And we will still have the same 3, Commissioner Reed, Commissioner May, and Commissioner Strickland. but the biggest shift is in Commissioner Reed's area and Commissioner May's area. A large part, let me back up first. The redistricting, as I understand it, is based on our census, and it's done every 10 years. And for some reason, we can't build in the ocean. So the ocean does not get any bigger in terms of population. So all of our growth mainly has happened west. So the shift basically moved a lot of the lines west. So currently, Commissioner Cantu has the smallest number of residents in her zone. And I said that to say, when the lines were redrawn for the area that Commissioner May had, it's changing significantly because she's taking a lot of the area that Commissioner Reed has had for years. Specifically, south of ISB was all the way down to Shady Place, all the way over to the golf course, Shady Place. All of that was Commissioner Reed, and now that is now Commissioner May's area. And at the next meeting, I'm hoping to provide you with maps. It's just a lot of information that I've been dealing with, working on, and I have the maps printed out on my desk, but I just didn't make enough copies to bring here tonight. But the change happens as of September 1st, I believe. 1st of next month, if I'm remembering correctly.
What's the western boundary for that one? Is it Nova? What is
Western boundary for,
it? Or Paula's old district that's now her district?
hers goes beyond Nova, west of Nova.
Ours, possibly?
I believe it does. I'm not sure, but I know it's beyond Nova. Yeah, it's far beyond Nova. Yeah. Her traditional area has changed a whole lot. It's now Commissioner May's area.
Wow.
But again, I'll have those maps at the next meeting, and if you have any questions, I will answer them as best I can.
Any questions? Ms. Tolliver? I see inquisitive look on Richardson's face there.
I just, okay, so,
Visualize that now.
Your property is no longer Commissioner Reed.
Just definitely-
okay, so, she has all of Midtown, is what.
She has predominantly all of
Of
Midtown.
Midtown.
But see, Midtown goes north of, well, let me
Just
say,
stops at-
north of International to George Ingram.
Yeah.
Okay, so at that point, you have a mixture of Commissioner Strickland and Commissioner May, and that's always been the case. The difference, the main difference is south of International. That's the huge change. But everything north of International is pretty much the same.
And Bethune-Cookman is still split. right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
But the map is going to confuse you. Why? Because the commission zones are not drawn to Midtown zones. So it's like an overlay. And you're not going to be able to figure it out other than, like you say, your northern boundary for Midtown is George Ingram. And your southern boundary for Midtown is Shady Place.
Correct.
So other than that, everything east and west is, other than the tracks, you know, they cut the line at the tracks and we know why, but everything else is not clear on the west side. But ask questions, but basically the main change is south of International. It's no longer, yes.
Colors, lots of colors. When you draw the map, use colors.
Well, it's already pre-drawn. We had a third party that we hired to do the redistricting, and that's the map that I copied that's on my desk. And now to overlay Midtowns, like Mr. Collins say, that's a GIS maneuver, and that may not get you next month because I got to get in line. But what I have right now is the map for Commissioner May, I have the map for Commissioner Strickland, and I have the map for Commissioner Reed. And it has streets on it. But The overlay part of that is the Midtown map. And like I say, if you do north-south, you're good. If you can just say north is George Ingram, south is Shady Place, railroad track on the east.
Okay. But definitely, I don't want to get too much into discussion, too much into the weed, but was it based purely on population, or any kind of demographics played a part in it, anything?
I did not pay enough attention when the presenter made that, but, you know, the population is based on the census data that was generated for 2020.
Sound like a plan. Thank you. All right, we're into item 8 now, presentation spotlight on Midtown. We'll start with Mr. Walton, CEO of Snap Space Solutions. Welcome, sir. You have been someone who's been trying to get here for a minute. And it was as absolutely perfect, given that you were preceded by our city manager telling of our vision.
Yep.
And how we're not looking to just, put anything in Midtown, have a mixture of uses and demographics. So go for it.
Thank you so much for having me here and giving me the opportunity to explain what we do and hopefully answer some questions. City manager left some big shoes for me to follow up with. But my name's Chad Walton. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Snap Space Solutions. We build shipping container homes and businesses and buildings. You mentioned about entrepreneurs. Man, I've got entrepreneur running through my veins. I've been self-employed 44 years. I've never had a real job because, well, nobody will hire me. So I've done multiple startup businesses. Knock on wood, they've all been 100% successful. I built homes and did real estate development for years. And back in 2005, one of the things I couldn't understand what was going on was FEMA was putting people, when Hurricane Katrina hit, putting them in mobile homes. That the first thing you want to do when the next hurricane comes is get them out of a mobile home. So it didn't make sense to me that they would put them in something that it's a problem to begin with. So I happened to have some shipping containers on my property and was using them for something else and got to think of why can't we use these for housing, because they've been doing it around Europe and around the world for years. Our military has been using it. A friend of mine sent me a picture of himself in Vietnam in one of these shipping containers buried in the ground. The machine's gun sticking. I goes, yeah, I know those very well. I spent a lot of time in them. So they're virtually bulletproof. We've discovered they're hurricane-proof, tornado-proof, earthquake-proof, and we figured a way to mount these in flood zones where they don't flood. And the cost to do it is a fraction what it is for traditional construction, where you have to come in and bring all this fill in and build the ground up to pour the slab. These literally, because of the structure of them, the way they're made, these just happen to make a great item for display. If you have 4 of these, you can set a shipping container right on top of them, because the support form is the 4 corners of them. So the cost for one of these versus bringing in all the fill dirt in, and then to pour the big concrete slab will save a tremendous amount of money, which helps keep the house or the business more affordable. So affordable housing wasn't my focus. Businesses and such were, but this is a dire need. And as of today, I just made an offer on a piece of commercial real estate right in Midtown, where we're going to be moving our headquarters here in Florida from. Right now, it's up in Ormond Beach. Our aim is to move it right smack in the middle of town by our choice, so that we can be right in the middle of what's going on to work with our neighbors then to truly help. So we've got an opportunity to, and I'm going to put my money where my mouth is and do the best that we can. So I've got a video presentation, and you know that old saying, a picture's worth 1,000 words? I'll stop talking and show you some pictures. Now, I'm not sure, where do I aim this?
Use it. I'm gonna help.
Oh, wrong button. Okay. This is our flagship facility in the state of Maine. That's where I grew up. Well, actually, I flew in my COO from our Delaware office. We both grew up in northern Maine and farming country, so we're used to long days and out in the fields, and he had a dairy farm. So any of you familiar with farming, we understand hard work. So anyway, this is a facility that I bought because FEMA, back up a little bit, some of our customers are FEMA, Department of Defense, General Dynamics, Portsmouth Naval Shipyard. They hired us to build like an on-land submarine made out of shipping containers for our return of special forces to debrief them and everything, and they loved it. So that's the level that we can build at and that we're qualified at. We've got these literally around the world. We shipped some restrooms for FEMA to Saipan, north of Guam, in the middle of the ocean. We've got a big meat processing unit with meat rails and stuff in the Cayman Islands. We've got control rooms for power plants in Mexico, offices up in Alberta, Canada, retail units in Six Flags in Montreal, Canada, disaster relief housing in the Florida Keys. We literally have these around the world because they're shipping containers. They're made to ship around the world. But the cool part is that structurally they're so rugged, they're almost indestructible. So for housing, to have something that you don't need to worry about a hurricane, that, you know, most homes you're going to run away from them. These you're going to run to them because you can't hurt them. So we're very fortunate in that that's what we've got to start with to build homes. Now, Reverend, you've had the opportunity to actually come in and go through them. Thank you for letting us display one in your yard for the housing fair earlier.
Yes, sir.
You never know you're in a shipping container on your side of them. And exterior-wise, they don't need to look like a shipping container. They can look like that building there. They can look like a stucco home. They can look like the outside of this building. We can make them look like anything. So they don't need to have that stigma. However, that does increase the price. So if we're aiming to keep things as affordable as possible to get people into, that can be a step that's added later. But to get started, you know, we're trying to keep the prices down. So Mr. Dexter and I have spent a tremendous amount of time the past, well, pretty much this year, coming up with any kind of design and idea that we can to make the fit the affordable end for both businesses, which, see if I hit the right one here.
Side button. Provide a side button.
There you go.
Oh, this one right here. This is incubator space for businesses, built out of shipping containers. We actually built it on site in, 5 hours on site. We build these complete in our factory, ship them on site, and basically just assemble them. They're like big Legos. Now, the cool part about this is, like for Midtown, city manager, one of the things he mentioned is being able to increase the tax base. Businesses increase tax base. So if we can take a parcel of land that lends itself to business, but yet allows a mixed use, we can stack these things and put residential on top of them. So it helps that portion of it be more affordable, but yet the tax base part of it can be carried and shouldered by the business. So, and it generates jobs. So we can accomplish both of that. And this is one of the things that has kind of exposed itself over the past several months is a lot of the other solutions that people have been trying to make work over the years. It's like putting a square peg in a round hole. This thing, we can check so many of the boxes that haven't been able to before, like the safety, the flooding, the indestructibility, affordability, and speed to getting them done. So, as you can see, though, they're very attractive. And that project was very well received, and a number of businesses that started off here as single owner, or they had a part-time employee, or the 2 or 3, have outgrown the spaces and expanded and grown into bigger businesses, which that's the goal.
Excuse me, Chair. What is this location? I'm sorry. Where is this located?
That's on Washington Street in Portland, Maine. That project actually was a 2.5-year-long project. For the reason that the city, we had some people in the city in permitting code that didn't understand it and did this. In fact, we were at one meeting where we were told, I don't know the answer to that, so I'm going to say no. By a city official. Instead of saying, let me find out the answer to that, did she not? Crossed her arms and said, I don't know the answer, so I'm going to say no. So it took another 1.5 years after that meeting for us to kind of twist the arms a little bit and work with them to help them write their code for both residential and commercial. I took a year and a half. Right on the tail of that is when we were able to land this. So we are very familiar with working and they are a very difficult city to work with, Portland, Maine.
So what are the, you're dealing with codes, what is the usual and customary changes that you see that will be required to make changes to a standard code?
We build to code.
Okay.
So actually, nothing.
That's what I'm thinking.
It's mainly education so that they understand what we're building and that it is built to code and that we meet all fire life safety, all ADA where it's required. We meet all of that.
Okay.
But a lot of people can't get past this old rusty shipping container that they've seen out behind a garage somewhere. That's all they can picture until you walk through it, correct?
Yeah.
But you already have a workable blueprint for the code. Say if we wanted to incorporate that
Yes.
here, you could just tweak the numbers and that, and then we're set.
That's already happened a number of times. Like the city of Bangor, Maine, which is across the river from where my factory up there is, they actually took that code from Portland and basically just changed the names from Portland to Bangor. And Jessica's working. Is working on that right now to incorporate that with everything to get it for Daytona. So, yes, we are
So
working.
what's the per square foot for that?
What are we building?
The commercial. Let's say,
So commercial, we're gonna be 250-ish probably on commercial.
250 a square foot?
Yeah, on commercial, fully outfitted, drop it down, plug it in,
Turnkey.
go to work. Now,
Dexter, you may want to come up because the meeting is recorded and the people who are listening in, you're not mic'd, so they can't hear you.
and he had to ask me a question. I'm not good at this.
Your name.
Your name?
Good evening.
Your name?
I'm named Dexter Copperthwaite. We get asked a lot, what's a per square foot price? The problem with throwing out a per square foot price is people generally don't know exactly what they want, the level of doors, level of windows, level of interior finishes, level of electrical components. All of those things change the per square foot price. All I can really do is throw out an average. Because I do all of the quoting, I can throw out an average $250 a square foot. We could be down to $210. We could be as high as $350. But we need to know what we're building before we can actually throw out a price.
What's-
That makes sense.
Let's deal with residential. We're talking about.
So residential right now, depending on the level of work that goes into it, single unit containers, similar to what you saw, is going to run in the 185-ish per square foot range. Okay, that's turnkey, dropped on the ground, turnkey. That's for the container itself. We go to 2 containers now. We are doing steel work, structural. We're putting in more components inside, depending on the level of the kitchen appliances, level of bathrooms. You could be $200 a square foot. Level of windows is a big deal. The difference between Miami-Dade, quality window, hurricane impact, and a standard window here in Ormond Beach or in Daytona could be $300 a piece. Okay, so that changes. That changes the price of the container. So it's just, you can't throw out a just one size fits all. It just doesn't work. And I guess that's about all I have to add to that.
Well, I guess, again, my train of thought is, I guess there's 2 things you're pushing. You're needing less space than you may think you need, correct?
So, yes, it's about need, not about want.
Right.
Yeah.
And I throw this out because I'm just being honest, when you're talking about 2 something a square foot, the standard site build is like $110, $120. That's standard. I'm just being honest with you. Yes, it's about $110, $120, maybe at most $130 a square foot. Well, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying $1.30. I'm saying 130.
Yeah.
That's a standard. That's not my standard.
No.
That is the standard. And that's high compared to what we were used to. So I'm just throwing this out to help you out. So part of your pitch should be, listen, you may not need that 2,000 2,100 square foot house, you only need whatever it is, for what you're trying to sell.
That's correct.
So what's your standard square foot for your homes?
So we work in the standard sizes of containers. A 40-foot container is 320 square feet.
Okay.
Two 40-foots would be 640. 340s would be 960. You can take a 40 and a 20 and put them together and fall into that 480 range. So you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So they can be put together like Legos. So you can have really whatever you want, whatever you can afford. Okay? We all grew up in farmhouses with one bathroom, 5 bedrooms, brothers and sisters.
Right.
Everybody doesn't need 3 bedrooms and 2.5 baths.
Right.
And that seems to be what we're bumping up against.
Okay.
Yeah, mixed family sizes, that
Yeah,
sounds
and
perfect.
that's the trick. We got to
Yeah.
basically, there's some people that are going to stick with the site builds.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. This is not a one-size-fits-all. I think we all agree. Yeah, it just doesn't, it's not one-size-fits-all. This is an option to come in and do something more rapidly.
Right.
And we all know that time is costly. We can come into an area and literally set these in with a crane as opposed to bringing in cement trucks, wood trucks, and construction workers. And, you may be able to build cheaper, but it's going to take a lot longer, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, time is money. So, yeah.
That's right. Time is money. Right. Thank you.
No problem. Yes.
As far as the family getting loan approval quickly for these types of bills, depending on the square footage and all the things that he mentioned as far as amenities and that type of stuff. Is the loan process the same or is it
Is it on?
different? Is the loan process the same for the families requesting this type of bill?
Yes, pretty much. These are viewed as like stick-built. They're not viewed as manufactured or modular. They're viewed as stick-built from the bank's perspective.
Okay.
And we've been working with some folks locally here on the first-time home buyers programs, down payment money assistance and closing cost assistance money to help it be more affordable.
Okay.
So we're working hand in hand with them. In fact, we've got one right in process right now as we speak. So one of the things I want to point out on pricing on stuff, prices per square foot. This carpet costs the same per square foot whether you put it in a shipping container home, a block home, or stick-built.
Right.
The windows, if you put the same window in all three, it costs the same. The only thing different is the steel box structure. Everything else, every component you put into one, if you put all the same components in another, all of those costs are identical.
Well,
So-
and just to clear it up, that height, that ceiling I was saying, $150,
Yeah.
that includes material and labor. That's it.
Yeah.
That's, again, those are my numbers, those are the numbers.
Yeah.
And so I get what you're saying, and I'm supportive of you. But I'm being the devil's advocate.
Oh, good.
So you need to hear this.
We need to know that.
Yes.
Because if we're off in an area, I want to know so that I can get it correct or get
You need to hear
it
it.
straightened out. Yeah.
That's what you're gonna come up against.
Yeah. Good.
I'm curious as to the dimensions of the container. What are the actual dimensions?
Like those
Yeah,
right there
that's
are
fine.
8 feet wide by 40 feet long.
I'm sorry?
They're 8 feet wide by
Okay.
40 feet long.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, when we build structures like this that they want more space, we just remove the walls on the inside. So it can be as wide open as this.
Okay.
Like I could build this and have it show up just like this and put it together probably one day on site. Because we build it.
Builders on staff, right?
Huh?
Got a lot of welders. You gotta cut that sucker somewhere.
It takes longer than that to build in the factory. The on-site work is where it's fast. And we just did a project, was it, who we were doing with the 30-unit apartment complex? A 30-unit apartment complex, time is money, right? Money costs money. From, no matter what you're building, you've got to get your yard in, you got to put your driveways in, you got to bring your utilities and get the concrete work done. If you start at that point where the concrete work is done, typically on a 30 unit, you're 9 months to a year before you can hand your tenants the keys, roughly. With ours, 30 days you can hand your tenants the keys. So for 11 months that you're stacking the blocks and doing all that to get it closed out, for 11 months, with one method, our method, you're generating income every single month. The other method, you're continuing to spend money, and you get to pay interest on that money for that extra 11 months, and you have lost that income that isn't recoverable. It comes out to just about $500,000 on that one building in 1 year. So if you're an investor, that's a big number difference. So if you build two buildings, two 30-unit buildings, you've lost $1 million, or you're $1 million ahead.
Got another question for you. The standard lot size for a residential is 50 feet. 50 by 50? 50 by 100? Yeah. So that's one house. What could you do with that footprint? With what you've done before?
What's code allow?
It's 5 feet buffer, right?
5,000 square feet.
Yeah, but
Well, there-
it's 5-foot buffers between the residents.
Lot lines, yeah.
Between the lot lines. I'm giving you questions that you need to be prepared to answer. I mean, seriously, if you don't have the answer, but that's what I'm trying to tell
Well,
you.
just they're 8 feet wide. If we can go to within
That's
5.
what I'm leading to, very simply.
Okay.
If we can sell what you're selling, if we can make people buy what you're purchasing, instead of putting one unit on a 50 by 100 lot,
Yeah.
you can put 2 or 3. So you need to be prepared to answer that question.
Oh, we can. We know that.
That's
Here's the problem. Here's the problem with that, though. Now you've got parking issues. What's the parking
You
ratio?
have a solution for it.
We don't have, well, we can elevate them so you can park underneath them. Yeah.
Be prepared to.
Which down in the Florida Keys, everything down there has to be at least 8 feet high. So,
Oh, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I have not seen that eagle lately. Let's move.
There you go. I agree. I agree. I haven't forgotten that either. Just to let you know. Okay.
I don't keep you
There's a
too long.
difference.
Let me work through some of these pictures
Sorry,
here. Yeah.
sorry.
This is one of the we've put some renderings of some different floor plan models in here just to give you an idea. This top one, stack goes like along the line, so it's almost like a hotel where you've got rooms on both sides like that. This one right here, you've got an entrance from the ends, and then, you can sit that many people or more. Here's another type of layout where you can put these back to back, so you can have, like if you, in a big hurry, you need to house a lot of people, this is safe housing for them. They've got their own door. With a window in there, you don't need an HVAC unit running the whole thing. You can slide a little window air conditioner in it. If it breaks, go down to Walmart, grab another one, stick it in the window. So we tried to make this as simple as possible, but yet give people a safe place. The top one is similar to what you went through, just the bathroom's in a different end. It's a single unit, bedroom on one end, little workspace, and kitchen the other end. The one right below that is a double, so you've got 2 in one 40-foot unit. They're kind of cool. And when you walk in one, you have no idea you're in a shipping container. True?
I like it.
Yeah, that's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 960 square feet.
How many shipping containers did it take to build
3.
this one?
And we've removed the walls so that the layout it flows smoothly. 2 of the bedrooms are small bedrooms. And here's education is a big part of this. For so many years, America is bigger and fatter and bigger and more square feet, more. That isn't what we need. This is what we need. This is what we can afford. And that's also 2-bedroom, up 2-bath, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. So it's funny walking through it. It feels so spacious. You think 960 square feet, is that all for 3-bedroom? But it doesn't, Dexter. It's very comfortable. It's very, you don't feel like it's tight at all. It feels like plenty of room. And here's the other thing, locating in Midtown, we've got one model here. We're finishing one in the factory right now. We want to have different models so that we can bring you all through it and just bring you right over and have it close and walk you through and show you the different models and different floor plan layouts and different ideas. And we'll show you the high end and we'll show you the low end. So we're cross my fingers. We're trying to plan ourselves right here to help.
What is your pricing on this particular one with your windows and everything included with this one?
To that level of finish, That's probably a 225.
Those are pretty fancy finishes in it. Yeah, it had a center island with the hood over the island in the center there and granite, and it's pretty nice.
What lot size would you need to have something for that size?
24 feet wide.
Okay.
So that would fit on your 50-foot wide lot. And we can stack those. So we could have 2 complete residences. Or go 3 high or 12 high.
You could stack it, but not have another resident on top, but you could have a second level, like a 2-story.
Yeah.
Yep. Or 3 or 5 or...
Amazing.
These are empty. These are rated so you could stack them 64 high. That's how strong they are. But loaded with 60,000 pounds on the floor of each container, it's 12 high. And run them through a hurricane and tornado and everything. That's... This is the model we have right here that you were through. Yeah.
Yep.
And on the inside, you look at the inside, it's sheetrock walls. It just looks like a normal home inside. Feels like it. Again, the outside, we can, and I think I've got some pictures on here. Yeah. See, the siding, it can look like anything. The lower left one, we built that for a logging company, for the logging truck drivers, stuff that were in a location way out in the northern Maine woods, and they want something rugged. So it's metal sided, metal roof, beautiful handmade bunks on the inside. And then the top right one is a nice little Airbnb. It's 2 containers stacked. So they can look really, really cool.
The Airbnb
Yeah.
price
Yes.
for something like that. Yeah.
But again, the wood siding adds cost to it.
Yeah, that's gonna push 180.
180? It still have all the amenities in it?
That's turn. It shows up and you can
How
generate
many-
cash
how many
in a couple of days.
3. That's just one? Okay.
That's one up on the top.
My daughter stayed in one similar to that up in the mountains of North Carolina. Paid $380 or $90 a night to stay in it. But she loved it. She said it's just so cool that she sent me pictures and everything. So, but that's just to show you that it doesn't need to look like a ship of cake. It can look like anything. The one on the right, you see how that's up in the air off the ground? So that could easily be skirted or something around, or bushes around and stuff, so it wouldn't look like it was like that. But that way, remember I said on the cost, for normal construction, you got to build the ground up around it. Well, that creates another problem. If your house is right beside my new house, now I've raised my ground like that. Now all my runoff is it's gonna flood you. This way, it runs right underneath that. So I can set my new house right next to your house, and I'm not gonna cause flooding for you.
But that could be raised enough to put a car under.
You could, oh yeah, easily. Yeah. But they look cool though. No, they don't need to look like a square, rusty shipping container. There's one we built.
Wow.
It's on Long Island. We built that on site in one day, but it was built complete in the factory. But on site in one day, it was assembled just like that. That sold 3 years ago for $1.87 million.
Now, how many containers is that?
5.5. That, I don't know if I've got the next. Yeah, there's the inside of it.
Wow.
So they can be, I mean, if you wanted something on the ocean for, I mean, the beautiful, or vacation homes, whatever. There's the backside. See that piece hanging right out in the air like that? That's that bed. They wanted the master bedroom out, but they wanted to be able to see because the view is gorgeous from that height there. But the point of that, though, was to say that they don't depreciate, that they bring the money when you resell them. So tax base wise, it's going to help. That's to show how complete we build them. If you look, the hood system is part of a commercial kitchen. The hood system's all in there, the Ansel system, the plumbing, the lights, everything's all there, all the fryolators, the pizza oven, everything. That was one of a multi-unit complex for a group called Live Nation. They put on a lot of concerts all around the world. Yeah. And that was a Wednesday morning. Thursday morning, they were test cooking in it. Friday, they had a concert to serve 18,000 people 3 times that night. You can't do that with any other type of construction. And Live Nation actually came in and said, this is the standard that we want all our kitchens built to. So there's the inside of a commercial kitchen built out of these. So in some of the areas where, for cluster housing and such, we built shower rooms and restrooms in one container, and just the bunkhouses or just the housing to keep the cost down for it. And then you can have a central kitchen that we just bring and set down and turnkey. He's in there, holy cow. I think that was 3 hours after we set it on the ground. He's in there working, getting ready to cook.
I have a question. If you start out with the starter home, let's just call it a starter home, 1 unit. They are buildable. You can add another unit to it and add
Yes.
another unit.
Yeah. There's some disaster relief that's down in the Florida Keys that we did for Monroe County Long-Term Recovery Group. On the left, that toilet and sink and everything, if you look up, there's a shower head, one of those rain shower heads. We designed a system so that you can have the shower, the toilet, and the sink and everything all right there, and drain on the floor, and come in and disinfect it, hose it all down, clean it, so simply. And it's stainless steel. It's indestructible. So it just works so well. So we've had a chance to work through and develop and actually build different designs over the years. So when it comes to the affordable housing thing, we pulled all kinds of different ideas, and I can't wait to get some of the units built and set here to get an exact number, approved, here it is, setting right here number, and to show y'all. I think you'll love it. And I think we can truly help where there's a need. Oh, there you can see there. I love the stainless steel. But you can't hurt them. Oh, laundry facilities. We can bring in a complete laundry facility also. And it shows up just like that. This is a project I worked on for 3 years, I think, for Delray Beach. It was for our truly homeless veterans to get them off and literally pick them up off the street and bring them and give them a home. The developer didn't end up doing it after we spent all the time on it, but this is one of the designs for it. So we've got this already. We could build. It doesn't have to be for the veterans, but it can be. And it had rolling showers. We've got it. Oh.
See, now that's what I'm talking about.
This is to show you the multi-unit. This is actually in Amsterdam. It was for student housing over there. They had a dire need for student housing, so.
It looks like MIT in Boston.
But they built it, it was there for 8 to 10 years, something like that. And then they took it all apart and relocated it. But there are all the dormitories there. But they're all built out of shipping containers, so they just come in, they just stack them up, and then when it's time for them to go away, they go away.
I can see it.
One of the things that we offered FEMA and have offered some other groups is, if I build you a home and you have it for 2 years and you decide you don't want it, I'll buy it back. I'll just come get it. Nobody else offers that. You can't hurt a shipping container, so, yeah.
I see your wheels turning, Renee.
Yeah. This will show you, it's a quick little video that shows how quickly these can go together. Like I said, the 2 different types of building. This is our method of building. I remember they're already built and complete, so they just pretty much have to stack them up and connect the utilities inside.
And you've got a whole village.
Just like that.
Wow.
That's how we can do it and give them the keys in 30 days. Versus several, months and months of, and here's the other thing, you have all the trucks in and out for a year versus a couple of days.
And that includes permits and utilities and,
Well, the permits would all be taken care of to get to that point right there where the concrete's on the ground. So I'm just comparing where the starting point for that, for the ground up. But that's literally how it goes. And over the years, we've come up with just a standard rule of thumb. We can set about 1 an hour. That's to back the truck and get it off, get it loaded, get it set down, get it all secure in place, get the truck out of the way, get the next one. About 1 an hour. So.
You've impressed us.
Yes, it is.
This is when I was over in the Bahamas. Bahamian government hired me to come over there. They needed police department, schools, housing, businesses, everything. That's what it looked like. Now, if you look close at those pictures, you see anything that's 100% intact there?
Just
The shipping container. I mean, it looks like none of those are secured. So they had 33-foot storm surge. So they're just sitting there. So they floated around. But you look, they're completely intact. And look at everything else. It's just, yeah, look at that one. So question is, what do you want your home built out of? Block homes, I was over there. The guy that I worked with that was going to help us assemble and build these over there had a brand new home, and it was all built out of block. Well, they don't handle hydraulic pressure very well. The storm surge blew the windows out and then blew the roof off, and then the walls are going, everything. Look at the containers. That doesn't happen with a container because every inch of everything it's not pieces nailed together or with mortar together. It's all welded together. You can't rip that apart. And anybody who knows metals and done any welding, if the weld is correct, the steel around the weld will rip and tear before the weld ever breaks. You won't break the weld.
I have a question about the roofing. So let's say you're designing a home that has a slanted roof. Do you leave the top of the container intact and then build a roof on top of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think got the other little video I want to show you. End of this also. Oh, this is to show the elevation. These are some that are elevated, like parking underneath that. So they can look really nice and accommodate and take care of the issues. Next little video.
Was that?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, it don't-
This shows wind damage in the storm through a hurricane up through Cat 5, yeah. There's Cat 1. But you watch, the house will start coming apart. The Cat 2. Because they're all put together pieces. They're nailed, one piece at a time is nailed on so they can come off a piece at a time when the wind gets underneath.
well, that fence didn't go nowhere.
But like your question, with the shipping container, we don't take the roofs off. So the pitch roof on it is just a facade. It's just to make it look nice. Even if that's gone, you're still sitting in there looking up at your ceiling inside. Your pictures are still on the walls inside. You still have a home to go to when the one beside you is gone. Some of the pretty siding on the outside might be gone off it, but your ceiling's still there. Bathroom's still there. The cat's still there, So, thank you.
Well, listen. So when will you be up and running
Very interesting.
here?
I've got an office in Ormond right now. It's up on Nova, across from the Rockin' Ranch. So we've got the model that you looked at is right there. If any of you want to come up before we get relocated here, I would like to be here within 30 days, right in Midtown. So that's my goal. Quicker I can get here, the quicker I can help. And we want to employ as many people locally as we can. We've got all kinds of different jobs for different needs. So
We got the employees for you then. Any other question?
Just thank you. Yes, very informative.
thank you so much.
Great presentation.
Mr. Chair, I don't have a question, but When I was first of all presented with the idea of bringing the the container home to our housing fair this year, it was Lucy Desmo as well as Commissioner May. They mentioned to me, but I was kind of hesitant. I mean, a container home. So when they brought the container home on the property at the church, I was kind of curious. They were setting it up, and, so I got a chance to go in. I mean, it was beautiful. And then even before the housing fair, we had people that were actually stopping, just curious to see, how it looked like. And some of them were even interested in trying to get that. So I think that's a great idea. Particularly in the Midtown area, we need that because a lot of our people cannot probably afford, building, a major house, but they can get something like that, and they don't have to worry about no flooding, don't have to worry about no, house being damaged during the storm. So I commend you for what you're doing.
Thank you so much, and thank you for allowing us to put it in the
look
yard
forward to
that first time when you weren't sure.
Yes, sir.
One last question. We're kind of getting short for time. Just one last question. Who's your market?
Who's my market? FEMA, Department of Defense,
Resident.
local.
Who's your resident? What economic? Who's your market?
What is your demographics? What
He knows what I'm talking about. Yeah. Trust me, he knows what I'm talking about. So who's your market? Is it
Everybody.
Is it LPGA?
No, not
the
really.
ones who are in
It
need
doesn't
of-
really fit that as well, no.
Okay.
LPGA, they still want the bigger, fatter, all
Right.
that. So that's not,
And
I
I'm
mean, we
telling
can
you
do
this
it, but
and I'm a dollars and cents person.
Okay.
You need to know what the medium income level is and what the affordable rate is. You got to know this. If your market is to fill that gap for folk who are renting but need to transition to buying, you need to know who you're going to be selling it to, because if they can't afford it, they're not going to buy it.
correct.
I just
Nobody
straight
else
up
can
with
hit
you.
that.
I'm shooting straight up.
But nobody else can hit that yet.
What's that?
Nobody else has been able to hit that yet, have they?
No.
Watch.
That's all I'm letting you know.
I
Your
would be,
market is the one we're trying to hit. You
and
get your prices right for that.
we have worked very hard on it, and if I didn't believe we could do it, trust me, I wouldn't be putting myself right in the middle.
With a name like Walton, I think you could do it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, President. Very informative.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Next on board is Visions of Daytona Beach, Mr. Ronald Kendrick. Is he here? Are the representative? Okay.
He was here.
Yeah. He's here? Okay. Oh, you got a surrogate tonight? Mm-hmm. Okay. You're on board, sir. Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Steve Miller. I work with the Honorable Hubert Grimes, and he's representing Visions at 282 North Nova Road. As you know, we had a nightclub here about almost 7 years ago by the name of Payne's, and it was the only club that we actually had here in the city of Daytona Beach. They decided to make it a housing development that never came to fruition, so we was minus a club. There's nowhere on the east side of the river that you can even go dancing at past 12 o'clock at night. It's amazing to me to be a 38% minority community and nowhere to go, and not even including the 2,800 students that would be coming here from Bethune-Cookman College, which is a couple of blocks from 282 North Nova Road. We all have to go over to the Razzles for celebration, and I don't have to remind you all that a couple of weeks ago there was about 3 to 4 people that got shot at Razzles. And if you are part of the Facebook Live, and almost every week I can go to my phone and I can see a fight at Razzles. And it's amazing to me that they have extended hours. And they still have extended hours. No matter what happens over there, they have extended hours. You know, you guys are Central Florida, your Daytona Beach redevelopment, which mainly focused on the Midtown area. The location of Mr. Kendrick's property is in Midtown. I don't have to tell you all that there is nowhere to go in our community except for church that you can actually dance past 12 o'clock. Now, I got a question for you. We have a black mayor, a black city manager, a black police chief, a black redevelopment director, a black majority commissioner, and we don't have a black club in the city of Daytona Beach. And it's an entertainment destination spot. People come here from all over the world to have entertainment. However, people of color, people that my pigmentation, have nowhere to go. The only way we could spend our money is to take it over to the beach side. And I think that's a tragedy. And so on behalf of Mr. Kendricks and the Hubert Grimes law firm, we're here asking for whatever support we can get from a redevelopment program department here, and ask that Mr. Kendricks has spent almost $175,000 on this facilities. If any of you all have visited, we welcome you to come in and visit the location. It's 282 Nova Road, and intersection of Mary McLeod Bethune and Nova Road, and it's in the bike. As you all were stating about the Midtown area, you know, it starts at the railroad track. It starts at Nova Road, except for when you cross over to the Daytona Plaza. And my address is George Ingram, which is the Forest North and Shady Place. So it's a very small area. I think I heard somebody say that our redevelopment funds won't even pave a road a half a block because we don't have the development. However, we're very excited to have you here, Mr. Thomas, and you, Michelle. We're really excited that
And Angie.
Mary McLeod, Martin Luther King looks like a little business area now. And thanks for some of the infrastructure that we've been able to get from the city. It looks a lot better. I'm excited about what the Dixon Center look like. The facility look like we're downtown, uptown, somewhere. But it's beautiful, and we're happy with that. However, you know, it's amazing to me that if you put the economy of African Americans together, we'll be the 9th largest nation in the world. And believe it or not, we have probably one of the poorest areas of Daytona Beach, the 32114. 98% of the folks that live in that particular precinct area, 90% single moms with 2 or 3 children with a median income of $12,000. And of course, we got all these students here. In fact, Mr. Fiat would like to talk about the 45,000 students in the International Corridor area, and there is nowhere to go in our community. So on that behalf, Mr. Collins, I would stop in and just ask for whatever help that you all can give. We really appreciate it immensely.
So right now, you're up and running, but you're trying to extend your hours.
Yeah, he had been in that location for approximately 2 years. The first year, he's had to try to do the construction because they leased him the property, and he had to do all of the infrastructure himself. And now he's in the second year, almost going to the third year. And we have to close before 12 o'clock. And most people now, when they go out, they don't go out until 12 o'clock. So we're almost at, we're at a no-win situation, unfortunately. And we're asking for any consideration from the Midtown Redevelopment Board. And we don't know what you can do, how you can help us, but we would truly like to be open at least to 2 o'clock so that our residents can have some type of entertainment.
Yeah, only thing I would just start off the discussion is one of the things the city manager talked about, and I kind of echoed it, is that, and those who know me know I don't bite my bullets. We've got T's that need to be crossed and I's that need to be dotted. Have all those T's been crossed and all those I's been dotted? That's all I'm asking. It's a simple question. And if it hasn't, that's fine. And are you in the process of doing that? We can support you, I think. I'm going to speak on behalf of the board, but we want to make sure that we're not asking for any particular favors, correct?
No, we're not. We're just asking to treat us like you treat any other business in the city of Daytona Beach. In fact, we are asking for a little consideration, for all practical purposes other than paying. I like to say that we haven't had a place to dance in almost 20 years in this community. Right. And at one particular time, Daytona Beach minority community was considered one of the most progressive communities in the country. And thank God for Mary McLeod Bethune and the school that she built with $1.50 and 5 kids. We got about 2,800 kids, an awesome institution, and Lynn helped develop one of the best football programs in the nation. He'd been gone a couple of years, and they haven't been doing that well since he have left. But that's another story.
Yeah.
But
let me add this to you, and just as a point of personal preference, when I moved here back in, I guess it was '90, I can call off about 6 clubs. It used to be just in this area. It was unbelievable. As a young knucklehead, I thought I hit the jackpot. It was great. Went from that to nothing. And so I don't bite my bullet. I'm supporting you, but I'm letting you know, as long as you cross your T's. And Danya, I'll say this as a caveat. We understand that, we need to, maybe make some variances here and there. We could do that, I don't think I'd be out of point because I'm hoping that you all feel the way I do. There needs to be some kind of, I guess, release point for the kids. They've got nothing to do in this area. Nothing. Going from 6 or 7 nightclubs to nothing. But I know you had a question, Ms. Hardy.
I think I have 2 questions. I'm sure you thought about the safety aspect.
Yes, ma'am.
Of having, and I think I remember the mayor a few days ago doing a curfew. He did a interview about. He was talking about the extending curfew for the. It's very vague. I didn't see all of it. Doing a curfew for teenagers, I believe. I didn't catch it all. I don't know. But is that something as far as the staff that maybe he can go through? Or is that a decision we as the board make?
As the city as the city manager mentioned, what the issue is a land development code issue, and the commission makes those decisions. Right. This board can make a recommendation, just like I am a resident of Daytona. I can make a recommendation, but the recommendation can be made to the commission.
I have a question. So what is the land development code that prohibits him from staying open longer than 12 o'clock?
There is like Mr. Miller said, there is an application process for extended hours. Extended hours is any time after 11:59 p.m.
Okay, so is that the standard for Daytona Beach?
That was the standard for the Safari Club. That's the standard for any club. But I think what Mr. Miller and Mr. Kendrick is here to say is that the location where they are located now, as well as any other location in Midtown, is not permitted to be a nightclub. But what is not asked or said is that we're not ignoring that. We don't walk around with blinders on. This is not the first time this has come up. So the land development code needs to be changed to allow that, and that is not a decision that staff makes. That's a decision for elected officials.
Mr. Kendrick, would you, or Mr. Miller, let us know? I heard Mr. Miller give the location, but I didn't hear the address.
282. I'm located at 282 North Nova Road. I'm directly behind Crunch Fitness and Save-A-Lot on the back side. Not the front side of Nova Road. I'm on the back side with a large parking lot. But my concern is I need the extended.
That's the big parking lot.
That big parking lot. I'm right next door to probation and parole. I'm the area where the parade, Bethune-Cookman's parade.
Oh, okay.
I'm the guy that everyone use my restroom.
Yeah.
I recognized you when you walked in, but
Yes, ma'am.
I was trying to put the face with where I knew you from.
Church.
Yeah.
Alan Chopper at that.
But my concern is, I need extended hours permit, because like safety, when he says dot your I's and cross your T's, my thing is making sure everyone is safe. But I can't hire the police department, which I've learned, without the extended hours permit. So it's kind of difficult, like he said, neither one of us, plays cards up under the table. I have folks coming out there doing donuts in the parking lot, but I have security, but the security can't really take anyone to jail. So what I'm trying to accomplish is a police department, which I've spoken with Jakari a couple of times, they're working with me. At the same time as I'm still going to have other security firms out there working, but we all need to work together. But my first step is that I have to receive, to make everyone safe, existing hours permit first. Then I can hire Daytona PD.
And allow me to say this to Ms. Washington. And everybody's very concerned about what's happening on the beach side, and rightfully so. But there have not been any type of accident like that happens at his particular facility. And to get police protection, you almost have to go to 2 o'clock to even get help from the local policeman. Now, they all looking at right now about putting more people and cameras over on the beach side. But they ain't said one damn thing about what's going on in this particular neighborhood, because this is our responsibility. See, now that they putting all the flooded, a lot of policemen over there because they feel like needed. But guess what? We go liking over here. And believe it or not, we feel like when police come out to our area, they ain't coming to help. They coming to cause us issues and problems. And I don't even want to go through why they said they did not give us the permit. I don't even want to go through it. But it's a very interesting subject matter. Nothing happened inside the club. It's all outside the club. And some of it was wrecked after hours. Somebody illegally parking, or even somebody called and nothing happened. But if you got 3 complaints that they call from your location, you don't qualify. Automatically, you disqualified, no matter what happened. So if I called and said, Kathy Washington house address, and if it was thriftful, guess what? You through, Miss Kathy. It's over. And I don't think that's fair, unfortunately. But you know what?
Let me ask this question, and this more so for the staff. Is this a commission level approval, or is something that's approved at staff level? His application?
It's at a staff level.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it was reviewed and reviewed by staff.
Right. I understand what I'm saying. As an example, anything that's above $24,999 has to go before the city commission. Anything below that, the man that came in earlier, Mr. PHE, can sign off on that. And so there's levels of development approvals that the city commission said, don't bother me with that. You all make the decisions at staff level. This is that. This is one of those. The other thing I wanted to remind you all of, it was about a year or so ago. Remember Attorney Rob Merrill? He came here representing a client. That client was the owner of the Dollar Tree, the Save-A-Lot, all of that. And one of those uses that we discounted was we don't want no liquor store. Remember that? Getting back in your memory, remember those discussions? Were you here? But if I'm not mistaken, help me out. Is a nightclub an allowable use?
Currently, it is not, because that location is operating under a planned development in a redevelopment area.
But we
The
have a list of
property
uses.
owner,
Yeah.
but one of the uses is not as a nightclub. The property owner would have to amend their planned development in a redevelopment area to ask for a nightclub.
Yeah. And I want you all to understand the whole thing. But what his application is something, again, that's allowable. It only has to be approved at staff level, correct? The extended hours.
For extended hours, yes.
And so, and just to go straight to the point, your denial is based on what? Just go straight to the point. Don't go into details about just what's your denial is based on what?
Things that happen outside of the restaurant.
That you had no control
into the club, into the parking lot, including somebody having a wreck 2 or 3 in the morning. Somebody was illegally I don't know how you illegally.
Nothing that went on inside the club.
Oh,
Nothing that went on inside the club.
nothing inside.
Okay.
So 3 other issues I wasn't even.
Right. Okay. So just to cut through the chase, it's more so just moral support, if you will. We've got no authority over this thing here. I'd like to show them our support for something like that. But if y'all don't feel that way, let me know. It's just something to let the staff know that we think this is something, as long as he crosses his T's and dots his I's. Yes, ma'am.
I have one last question for you. So currently, are you operating as a club right now or a restaurant?
I'm a restaurant and a dance hall. The dance hall is on the weekend. But right now, I'm being told I have to close at 12 o'clock. But my other situation was, as being told that I'm a restaurant, I should be able to operate just like Denny's, the Waffle House, because I have patrons that come to my place to eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever, at 12 o'clock. So as long as I stop selling alcoholic beverages at 1 o'clock, with my restaurant, I still should be able to be open to provide food. And I'm being written up at 12:08.
Because people are still there getting the food that they ordered. And I've gone to talk to Denny's, I've talked to the Waffle House, and they don't have to file for an extended permission to be open. However, apparently, Mr. Kendricks don't have that same type of privilege that other restaurants in the community have, unfortunately. But that's something that we're addressing, and we're not here for that at this particular time.
Ms. Tyler, I have a question. You mentioned earlier that the land development code would have to be changed in order for him to stay open later and function as a club. Is that something, I remember, and Mr. Collins, you went back to it when we discussed a year ago about the owner of that.
Yeah. It's not the land development code, it's the development agreement. It's the planned development that has to be changed.
Now, will the owner of that property that
You'd
we
have to
talked
talk-
about a year ago, is that something he would have to do, or is that something?
It can be done two ways,
would have
and
to
I'm telling you how it's done. It can be done two ways. The owner can give him authorization to come and ask for that, or he can come in himself. That's a discussion between Mr. Kendrick and the owner, but there's two ways it can be done, and there's a process you go through. It's just a matter of modifying the planned development, because that's all it is, to add that usage. And if you remember, if that's the route he wants to take at some point in the future, that will come back to us because it's part of our charge as the Midtown Redevelopment Board. Because Mr. Merrill wouldn't have come here if that wasn't a requirement, trust me. So that's a requirement, but again, that's on your thing. I got no problem supporting, just sending something to the City of Daytona Beach, letting them know we support his application, but I'm just one vote. I can't make the motion, but I would like something like that to happen. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. We had something from
No,
staff.
I just wanted to answer her question. So they have a planned development on the property, and within that planned development, there's no nightclub allowed. So you are correct. The owner will have to amend his planned development in order to allow for a nightclub to be operational. And right now, he's operating as a restaurant, and there's, certain areas in that.
And an event center,
Yeah, dance hall.
Dance hall.
And just some backup information. Staff has, because of reasons, we don't make that decision, but there are some staff who've made a determination that the extended hours is not applicable at the moment. But Mr. Kendrick has a meeting this week with all parties involved, the property owner, Mr. Kendrick, his representatives. So they're going to have a discussion on Thursday regarding his extended hours and what he's planning on doing. Just for this board, you all can write a letter in his support, and that is not a problem. Not a problem at all. At the end of the day, the city staff makes the determination on extended hours, and they take in consideration of prior history, existing conditions, and on and on and on. And that's how they make their determination if extended hours should be warranted. But
you're definitely permitted to consider their request for, supporting them in extending his hours. You wouldn't be out of line with doing that, but I'm just, trying to give you some background information.
Mr. Chairman, we also have gotten the support of the NAACP and the Ministerial Lounge. So they are submitting this letter of support for Mr. Kendricks and what he's trying to accomplish in our community, because everyone know we have a tremendous need.
I'll shut up after this. Just as earlier, the city manager asked for our support in getting Transform 386. We've got no authority on that.
32114.
But it hurts for us to show our support for it. We've done that before on other things. We may not have it in our land development code that Midtown Redevelopment Board is required to see that, but it doesn't hurt for us to either say we don't want this, even though we may not have any authority to affect it directly, but there, just conversely, we can say we support something. That's just the nature of the beast. I've always told you, I'd rather ask for your forgiveness than for your permission. That's just my train of thought. So if they done told us we can't do it, why not do it? So, I'll open it up for the floor, whatever you want.
What are the actual hours you're looking for?
5 p.m. till 2 a.m.
Okay.
I just need to hire a couple more cooks to do breakfast and lunch. So my vision is to be open breakfast, lunch, dinner, etc.
Okay.
I have a question, and is that the per norm for other establishments in the area until 2 a.m.?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you're not asking for anything extra that anybody else doesn't already have?
Right. The mayor stopped everything at 3 a.m. to 2 a.m. So that's what's allowed.
It used to be 3 o'clock, now they changed it to 2 o'clock.
If I can, Mr. Chair, I know staff from the redevelopment department has shared and have answered your questions. And I don't know if Captain Condi wants to add to this discussion, but I'd like to give him an opportunity to add to the discussion.
No problem. Come on up.
Captain Connie, Daytona Beach Police. So despite some of the statements made up here, what I can tell you is this has been a long process. I personally have made contact with Mr. Kendrick at the property after hours. They've been provided more than ample opportunity and information. The extended hours permit is a privilege in the city. So it is my responsibility to ensure that the quality of life for the residents in that neighborhood are not disturbed. Despite what information Mr. Miller has received, there is more than just one call for service in that area. So I apologize, I'm breathing hard. I came back quick, so I can tell you that it also has to do with the serving of alcohol on the premises. And, quite frankly, we have more than enough documented incidents where he has been continuously operating past midnight without question, without hesitation.
So the sign-off has been because of things that are going on inside the club.
To qualify for an extended hours permit, there are several safety things that need to be put in place. Surveillance cameras, security team, or a security service. There also needs to be adjustments to lighting and a couple other administrative requirements. In addition to that, according to our code, an analysis of the prior years for calls for service. So depending on how many calls for service have happened at a single incident, the extended hours permit would either be granted, suspended, or revoked.
I have a question. Can you inform me as to a noise ordinance for the city of Daytona Beach? What is the time in which say, an establishment was playing loud music, is it 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. in which a neighbor can call up and register a complaint?
So it all depends on the level of the sound and of the time of day, but also, it also has to do with, is it an anonymous complaint or is a person willing to provide a statement? So we get plenty of noise complaints from that business. However, not everyone is willing to provide a statement. So the case numbers that I have and the reports that have been completed are for residents that do live in the area and have, provided a
I'm
statement.
just trying to gauge the impact.
As far as the
of
specific hour, I would have to look up the Muni code to give you the exact hour.
And so I guess the complaints that are registered as far as the application, the ones that you're referencing tonight, they are aware of all of those, everyone that you're referencing tonight.
Yes, sir? That's why,
So he's aware of the serving of alcohol. That's part of what you submitted as far as your
that is correct,
denial.
sir.
Okay.
So hopefully, the meeting will happen this week as intended, but if anyone else has any questions, please feel free to ask.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, one last time, yes.
One last conversation. Concerning the incidents that he's talking about where I was opened after 12 a.m., I was given permission to open after 12 a.m. to go to 2 in the morning by Mr. Dennis. I don't know his last name. I had a meeting. We had a meeting at my location. Dennis, what's the other gentleman's name?
Deputy City Manager.
Morris?
Mr. Morris. They knew my application was pending. They told me to go ahead and run my
Do you have a date for those?
But I didn't, not with me, but yes. So they told me to go ahead and run my business as planned. Close at 2 o'clock. I am able to sell alcohol till 1 in the morning. And I just want to stipulate on that.
And again,
But I didn't have anything in black and white, but.
I got you, Jeff.
Okay.
If you're saying Jim Morris was there and Dennis was there, I don't think they're going to come
Attorney
back and
Grimes.
say they wasn't there.
And Attorney Grimes.
Yeah, okay, especially if Hubels was there, I don't think they're going to come back and say that. Now. So let me ask you this again. This is for Lieutenant Conte. Is there a possibility? And I guess you all got to find out the complaints that you're registering. Did that happen after he was told he can have the extended hours? So could that be a lack of communication between your higher ups and what they were told they can do? You understand what I'm saying?
I misunderstood.
Okay, you have a complaint. Let's say you have a complaint that was filed on the 8th, whatever month it is, doesn't matter the 8th. But he was given approval to continue staying open on the 6th.
He does not have approval.
He said he did. He said he did. So that's the issue that you need to find out if he was given extended hours authority on the 6th, but that wasn't relayed to you, and you went in and found out that he was still running extended hours.
I can
Then,
only base my information and my decision and my perspective based on information that's concrete and provable. So I look at the city's website, which is IMS.
no, that's not what I'm saying. I know you following what you're saying.
I'm not sure who he spoke to and what misinformation he received, but obviously that will be the intent of our meeting
Right,
this week.
for sure. So that's what you got to find out, sir. So at that point, you need to step back out of the conversation and let his boss and him talk.
Understood.
So you understand what I'm saying? Okay, it's pretty straightforward. It doesn't look like you're going to get much support tonight, but I'm just telling you, it looks like you've crossed your T's and dotted your I's. But as I tell people all the time, reduce it to writing, sir. That's all I tell you. That way you ain't got to worry about it no more. They're discussing it with what you've written down. Okay, thanks. All right. We're good. We up to update on the board's needs plan. Any update, staff? Anything?
I was able to receive the narrative from Pastor Magala as well as the combined narrative that Ms. Bonner put together.
I haven't seen it yet. I don't know. See what she but
I have copies here. I don't know if you all want them by email or you want the hard copy.
email. I prefer email.
Okay, and Ms. Hardy is going to provide her narrative probably next week. She hasn't provided it yet, so she'll provide that next week.
And we'll have a finished product at that point. Anything else added to that? Any comments from the board? We'll go into no new business. Any public comments? Anything? Ms. Carey? You got nothing? You got, okay.
I'm sorry, sir.
Board comments. Just kind of open it up. Any?
You got one from
I'm sorry.
the mayor.
Yeah, come on up. I'm sorry.
Give Mr. Lewis.
Pierre Lewis, 130 South Franklin Street. To the chair and to the board, great meeting. I appreciate listening to a lot of the good information that I heard tonight. And I especially like the comments that the city manager, when he was talking about a lot of things there. I actually attended that Transform 386 meeting that was there too. So I remember they were talking about the budget of a lot of that. So I appreciate the information that came from Mr. Thomas and Ms. Tolliver about that. I'm always really constantly under the concept that I always like to look for Midtown to be looking forward and leaning forward and meaning forward, because a lot of times I hear discussions about stuff, and a lot of times it's about where Midtown was years ago. And I always look for where Midtown should be today and tomorrow and looking forward. And I think it's helpful to listen to the comments that happens on this board now because you're all leaning forward. The comments that came from the city manager is leaning forward too, and that helps. Market rate and stuff like that is extremely important. I brought that, it's extremely, extremely important in the area. We talk a lot about affordable housing, but we forget the point of affordable homes. That's a key. When the city manager brought up about having those places that he didn't say pilot, but that's what he was talking about, payment in lieu of taxes, that's what happens when they have those other developments that are in the area versus what we need is people in rooftops. That way we can have that taxable base to increase in our area so we have those same sort of places when they do the market analysis for the areas in it. So I was glad to see that. The one thing I did, and I'm sure they already left, but they talk about fast, was that I noticed when the gentleman was here talking about the issue that I'm sure you're going to address about I don't know if it's a nightclub or an event center. And there's a difference between the two. How that's zoned, and I know when they're zoned, Captain said, I thought it was 500 feet between the residents that are there when they have a nightclub. But what I understand now, it's 1,000. So we have to be careful when you listen to the comments, although we want to support that, but that the development that code has to be changed appropriately. Otherwise, you're going off with saying, yeah, they need to have it, because I like the place. I've been there. I went there for Two-Step Tuesday a number of times. I had a great time. I know the individual. The place is really nice. But I still look at what the policies are for the neighborhood altogether. And this, most importantly, it fits within the redevelopment plan. The redevelopment plan and where it's going. So I think those things are extremely important. Other than that, I just wanted to say I had a great time at the meeting tonight. Appreciate it.
Sir?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, board comments. Yeah, right. All right, board comments. Just kind of open it up. Don't look like there's any. The only recap, I've got none either. The only recap is that I guess staff will be reaching out to me or whatever to put the letter together, letter of support for the Transform 386. And we need to get a copy of what you all submitted to the city manager as far as the projects. Now, what's the timeline we're talking about? Would that be something we're just going to come back to just for us to see the list that you submitted to the city manager for the $50 million?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the city manager suggested that the board vote tonight to give you permission to sign the letter before you dismiss.
I'll entertain a motion. It's been moved. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am. I think that's it. We are adjourned.
Jesus for me. I know that's right. I